Bethesda's Oblivion remake. Because remaking Skyrim for the 275th time is a little bit too much, they said. Yeah, this is gonna be very interesting and most likely desperate because Bethesda is not looking good in the slightest. Remember, Starfield was supposed to be one of their big new crushing IPs. And that has been arguably people don't talk about this enough. But Starfield in itself was a failure. But Starfield Shattered Space is effectively the equivalent of the Concorde launch. And I'm not kidding. It's arguably even worse considering it should have been way better with the fact that it's free and everything. And it is bad. Okay? So Bethesda is desperate to say the least at this point.
With that, ladies and gentlemen, we got a lot to talk about this week. We've got, of course, the Oblivion remake to get into, which, funny enough, was the last video I made before I went on my 3-week break. But also, we're going to get into those Xbox rumors on PlayStation and Switch, getting games like Halo and Gears and what that means for the Xbox brand. We're going to talk about the developer direct and, of course, what games are announced, but what games are rumored for it. And I also have Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. I want to talk to y'all about that later this week in a preview style video, but that might get pushed to next week because rumor has it that we're getting a Switch 2 or whatever it's called reveal this week. So we have a lot to talk about this week.
Oh yeah, the Switch 2 actually leaked on accident and people covered it. Kingdom Come Deliverance is shaping up to be a phenomenal game, a really good experience. And I know nothing about it technically. I only kind of heard vague things about the first Kingdom Come Deliverance and still don't know a lot about the second. But currently, what I am seeing, it's good. Seems good. Seems fun. Seems interesting. Seems really, really cool, honestly. And kind of excited for that. And everything else is honestly just a giant, absolutely enormous meh. I don't know what the Xbox is going to do with themselves because they pretty much, well, they said they are giving up on consoles. Very cool. Xbox, very cool. They're giving up on exclusive games because they can't fight against PS. PS has won the console war. And no one cares about the console war because all the gamers are on PC. It is what it is. So, what is going to happen to Xbox? I have no idea. Are they going to turn into some kind of parody of Netflix? Maybe. But only in a gaming sense, maybe? I'm not sure. But it's looking really, really bad for Xbox. They lost their way, they lost the war, they lost all their investments, and now they're gambling, and they're gambling big with things like, oh, we're going to spend $80 billion on Activision Blizzard, and then we're going to put Call of Duty on Game Pass to see what happens because that's how desperate we are to make it look like Game Pass is good. And again, I'm saying this every time we talk about Xbox in general. Game Pass is a scam. Not in the sense that it's an actual real scam, but it is completely inviable. It is a complete money sink and money waste for most people. If you have Game Pass a Game Pass subscription and you have it active throughout all of the year, which you most likely don't, no matter what. But if you have it through active all of the year, you need to play something like 3 to 5 games that cost like $60-$70 each to get actually your money worth on the Game Pass. And if you play less, you just lost money. I will say this every time. Game Pass is effectively a scam for the average person because you're going to lose more money with that than you will actually save.
So, buckle in, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get things kickstarted with the Oblivion remake because according to MP First, the Oblivion remake is real and they have the first gameplay improvement details. And if this is real, I think some of you who are purists are going to be mixed, but overall, we're getting something confirmed here potentially that a lot of us wanted, which is based on the rumors that have gone back and forth. You had the Reddit Gaming Leaks rumor, which basically framed things as, we don't know if it's going to be a remaster or a remake, but Oblivion is getting some sort of glow up in the coming years, and it's by Virtuos Studios. This was then confirmed by the moderators. of that Reddit post where they said that they have the identity and what they say they believe is true. So we knew that something was happening with Oblivion. Then it got like double confirmed through Xbox's FTC court documents where we saw that an Oblivion remaster was planned. So the real question as the years pressed on was, how far is Bethesda and Virtuos going to go when it comes to an Oblivion re-release of some kind? I was always in the camp of, as much as I love Oblivion, that if you're going to bring this thing back and ignore back compat and ignore all of the support it already has, as well as ignoring Sky Oblivion existing, you probably want to go very hard into the remake side of things to justify it. Because as much as I love Oblivion, there's a lot about that game that hasn't aged well, in particular the visuals, the dungeon design, those sorts of things. Shivering...
Oh, man, you should not say that. Like, Oblivion fans are rabid and wild dogs on average. Again, whenever I talk about the Oblivion remake, people are going to attack me for the most insane things. For example, I'm going to blatantly state, yeah, I did not play Oblivion. I played Morrowind. I don't know Oblivion things or mechanics. And the Oblivion fanboys are going to be like, oh, I bet you didn't even play Oblivion. How do you not know the most minor details of this game? I just said I haven't played Oblivion. I played Morrowind. And even from Morrowind, I don't remember a lot, honestly, because I was fucking 10. Okay? And I did not play Oblivion at all. and they're gonna be like, ah, I knew you didn't play Oblivion. You just are you stupid? Are you insane? Oh man, you do not want to say anything that upsets the Oblivion hardcore fan base because yeah, they just don't see. I don't even know what they do. Okay.
Isles fixes a lot of those issues, so bringing some of those design philosophies, even from that expansion, back into the base game would be interesting to see. So what is the plan here? Well, it looks like, according to MP First, that it's really hovering more in the remake camp, at least in the terms of visuals. And with gameplay, there are changes, but it opens up the door to just how massive will these changes be. So here it says, today we can confirm the project is indeed real. A mistake made by a former Virtuos employee has provided us with not just confirmation of its existence, but also insights into gameplay improvements set to be implemented into the original game. The information comes from the website of a former Virtuos employee, whose name we won't disclose due to privacy reasons, and who worked on the game from 2023 to 2024. Before this, the individual worked on games such as Epic Mickey Rebrushed, Call of Duty Warzone, and more, which I just get a kick out of this stretch of the article, I'll just briefly say, because it's like, we're not going to out this person, but hey, Bethesda, Microsoft.
Yeah, we're just going to tell you effectively, like, when he worked, that he's no longer working, and here's how you narrow it down. Jeez, yeah, that's kind of painful.
Any interested parties who want to track down who done it, here is what they worked on when they worked there, and they pretty much, it sounds like, did freelance work where it's going to be easy to find out who did this and find out why they leaked the information. Idiots. But nonetheless, we got a lot to talk about here. So they say a description.
Also, I absolutely love about the Oblivion remake the fact that everyone's like, oh my god, did you hear? It's the Oblivion remake. And it's like the 15th video where they pretend that it's a new thing. And, oh, look at this, it's confirmed. Oh, secret uncovered. Bro, everyone knows there's an Oblivion remake. I mean, shit, the leaked thing from the court case. This thing right here. This is real. So all of this is happening. When it is happening, like that's a little bit of a question, but it is happening. That none of that is going to change just because, oh, it got leaked. That's not how businesses work.
But hey, Bethesda, Microsoft, any interested parties who want to track down who done it, here is what they worked on when they worked there, and they pretty much, it sounds like, did freelance work where it's going to be easy to find out who did this and find out why they leaked the information. But nonetheless, we got a lot to talk about here. So they say a description of the project provided on the site confirms the title is being developed using Unreal Engine 5 and will be, quote, fully remade, end quote, hinting at significant changes in this reimagining compared to the original game. Brief descriptions of 6 gameplay systems that will be reworked are also provided in stamina, sneak, blocking, archery, hit reaction, and HUD. So before we get into all of those gameplay details, I will just say Unreal Engine 5, that was the original rumor on Reddit Gaming Leaks and Rumors, was that it was going to serve as a host for the Gamebryo engine where you would have the original
Isn't it already confirmed, by the way, that Unreal Engine 5 is the engine that everyone does this on, technically, because it's the most compatible or some shit? Like, everyone is gonna do it on the most easiest engine. Because again, this is just every remake of any game is just a money cash in. They don't. They're not gonna choose some kind of esoteric engine that two people on this planet know how to use, and two of them are fucking in a coma, and you need to travel through the dark dimension to find them and save them from the coma. Okay, no, they're gonna all pick the easiest way to do this, because the reality is, like, they don't care actually how good the graphics update is, because all of this is just money grabs. Every single remake of every single fucking game that we have had that has been good is nothing more than a money grab. They don't care about the fact that they do a good or bad job with Oblivion. It's about the money. So they're gonna do it always on the easiest engine, or, well, the easiest and cheapest way possible, effectively. This is every single remake without exception, almost.
Gameplay style and physics that you'd find in Oblivion, but that you'd update the visuals and whatnot within Oblivion through Unreal Engine 5, more modern lighting, that sort of thing. The reason this can be good, but I do wonder if they'll do it better than the Sky Oblivion team, is because the dungeons in Oblivion just have not aged well. They all use the same tile sets, they all use the same layouts, and while it was very cool in 2006, 2008, like that stretch of time, like I played it for the first time in 2008, to kind of experience a game of that breadth, of that scale on the Xbox 360, it blew my mind, frankly. It's what made me a true BGS fan. Nowadays, when you go back to it, it's the music, it's the kind of corny voice acting, it's all of the jank that kind of gives the game a lot of charm. And I do think the storytelling, especially the Dark Brotherhood, has its incredible moments, but really, when it comes to the world space, that's good, but the actual dungeons, the interiors, are very repetitive, and it's easy to get lost in them, and it's not as rewarding. So if they can figure out something there to make these dungeons all feel unique to one degree or another, I would be a very happy camper. That is my number one complaint with Oblivion. You could give me the floaty ass combat all you want. I would live with that if that meant that all of the dungeons got updated, because I think that would be better. Because I don't really look at Bethesda Game Studios for best in class action gameplay. I look at them for great exploration, rewarding exploration.
The combat should be fun at least. I mean, the combat is definitely at least, right?
And if they can update the visuals on that front, I think we're in a good spot. The problem that this project will continue to face until its reveal is that it's going to get sized up against Sky Oblivion, which looks phenomenal. And interestingly, as we'll get into with release date rumors surrounding Oblivion Remake, Sky Oblivion's apparently also coming very soon. So, like, within this next year or so.
Oh my. You know what's going to happen? I can predict what's going to happen, because Bethesda has done this historically. They did it with Fallout London. They did it with... What happened before Fallout London? I didn't play it, but there was some kind of, again, Fallout London-esque type mode that changed a lot. And before these things came out, surprise, surprise, Bethesda does some kind of magical patch out of the blue. Have fun. So, before Sky Oblivion comes out, or whatever the fuck it's called, I'm sure Bethesda will find a way to kill it. I'm sure Bethesda will find a way to ruin it.
So I just look at this and go, all right, it's go time. These two are about to go head to head in an unexpected clash. But let's get into these gameplay.
Dude, listen. I get to a place like this, I jump. I always jump. It is what it is. I at least see what's down there. I mean, I'm simple
details, because I want to get y'all's thoughts down below on it. They say, for the blocking system, ideas to improve it were taken from Souls-likes and the ACT games, which they're not sure what this refers to, but our guess would be Assassin's Creed's Ezio trilogy, as the original system was considered too boring and frustrating. This sneak...
Oh no! Dude! This was one of the things I thought. Because if you're just gonna remake Oblivion, I don't think it's gonna be well received. Oblivion, Morrowind especially, I feel are definitely that type of games where time has passed and You kind of you need to modernize them a little bit. You need to need to scrape away a little bit of that worst part of the game. And I thought that they could actually do some changes, but if they do fucking combat changes, that is wild. That is wild. And especially if they take it from like Souls-like games or Assassin's Creed trilogy games. Fuck that. That's Assassin's Creed trilogy would be horrible if they took any aspects of that game.
Icons are now highlighted in the improved sneak system, and the damage calculation methods were reworked. The stamina system was modified to be less frustrating for the player, making the knockdown that occurs when stamina is depleted more difficult to activate through changes in calculation methods. The HUD was changed to make it easier to understand and more aesthetically appealing to younger players.
Oh no! Oh no! We're literally talking about modern audience shit now. Oh no, next thing you're gonna tell me they have actually like a Fortnite skin ready to rumble.
Talk about that. Hit reactions were also added to improve the response to damage inflicted on the player and NPCs. And finally, archery was improved to make it more playable and modern in both third and first person viewpoints. All right, we're gonna just bang this out one by one here. Blocking system. This would be good because basically what happens with blocking in Oblivion is you just hold your shield up and there's no real level of interaction with the enemy. Just as long as you hold it up and they hit into you, they're going to get staggered back, leaves them wide open. So if they're looking at, let's say their prediction here is right of ACT, that's like Assassin's Creed Trilogy. If they're looking at it sort of like a counter system that you can engage with, that would be a little bit interesting. Souls-like as well has a parrying system. So I wonder if that's what they're looking at for more of the melee combat, because it looks like they're taking all the pillars, like the sneaking, the melee, the archery. What are they doing with each of these? And it seems like they're touching them up generally. Now, looking at sneak, it looks like UI updates. We'll talk about that in a little bit. More importantly is the damage.
This is a callback for when Skyrim was released, the bucket strategy. To be fair, it also works in a lot of things. I don't remember if they fixed it in Fallout New Vegas, but yeah, things like this have been forever in Bethesda games. Hold item, pick it up, take it into a different room, steal it, no problem. Put cup on person's head, they are blind.
Calculations. I have some thoughts on this one because I think that one of the best things about a BGS game is that kind of God mode that you achieve by the end game. Some people find it to be annoying, but for me, I like the sense of progression where by the end of the game, I feel like I've overcome every challenge and everyone falls before me, basically. Now, with damage calculations being reworked, this is interesting because Oblivion, at least in your early goings, there are some enemies that are really spongy, and I can get the idea of boring or frustrating because there are times that just by the nature of the sponginess of the enemies that I'll sometimes tune down the difficulty, not because it's tough, but it's just like, as the term would be here, perfectly put, boring and frustrating. I'm like, yeah, I don't play Bethesda games purely for combat, but I would like it to be at least somewhat entertaining. And when I'm hacking away at the same enemy for like 5 minutes and they're just standing there going, that's my orc impression. I'm just like, you know what? Let's just tune this down. So if they're going to look into that sort of stuff, I can see that being a good change, but dangerous game to play for sure. Now, stamina system modified to be less frustrating for the player, making the knockdown that occurs when stamina is depleted more difficult to activate through changes in calculation methods. What this also kind of means is some of the changes for the Oblivion remake, at least upon seeing it based on what knowledge we have here, may not be immediately apparent, which also puts the game kind of on its back foot. These damage calculations, you don't just see these. These are just happening in the background and provide a good player feel, if you will, but you're not going to actually see these things activate. Now, I don't know. I've played Oblivion as a melee character in my last 2 playthroughs, and I didn't have any level of frustration of getting knocked down often. Even in the early game where it felt like every jump you did took like a quarter of your stamina, Oblivion fans know how to break the leveling system, which interestingly isn't mentioned here. The thing that's really interesting about Oblivion...
Oh yeah, I mean the leveling system in these old games is fucked up. It is actually really bad. I think there's a reason I don't know about Oblivion, but I think I think there may be a reason why they chose Oblivion over Morrowind, because I mean Morrowind, the leveling system can actually kind of destroy you if you do it improperly to a certain degree. Well, to a huge degree.
Oblivion's leveling system, it's really Elder Scrolls as a whole, is leveling by doing. But in the case of Oblivion, I mean, you could sneak everywhere, jump everywhere, get your athleticism up really easily, get those like perks that would just, again, make you really immediately God mode. The fact that when they're looking at balancing and calculations, there's not been any mention of tweaking the level system at all is a little bit concerning, because again, things like getting knocked down, I didn't experience often, but I think a little bit of that scaling and how you do it could be tweaked. So interesting that it's not mentioned here at all. Now, the one that worries me the most is the HUD was changed to make it easier to understand and more aesthetically appealing to younger players. Man, I'm sorry if this is toxic of me to say, but stop trying to appeal to TikTok brain rotted kids. I don't know how else to put it, man. I'm so tired of seeing this sort of thing, because that is my interpretation of it. How can we make this otherwise, I think, beautiful?
Actually, like, I mean, that's correct. I mean, unironic based opinion. What am I supposed to say about that one? Yeah, I wonder how much the modern audience modernization is going to actually affect this game, because it could be a lot. It could be not that much. Who knows? Who knows?
Full, simple UI. How can we streamline it more? And look, I won't harshly judge until the time comes, but most of these kids are trained on like mobile games nowadays. They're not like you and I, who didn't have the opportunity to play games on an iPad. Like maybe the iPod Touch. I remember playing like a Guitar Hero style game on that. I loved playing little app-based games on my iPod Touch. But by that point, I had already had my spiritual awakening with the PS2, the original Xbox, the 360 was on the horizon. Like, I knew what great games were. So now trying to bring the UI down for the hardcore base worries me a little bit. I'll save full harsher judgment for the time we get there, but anytime I see this, I'm just like, oh my god. No, Oblivion's rated M, dude. What younger players are we trying to appeal to? Hit reactions were also added to improve the response to damage inflicted on players and NPCs. I think this is actually good, because if
yeah, this is good, because again, it's like an enemy slumps down. It's not really fun a lot of times.
It's very precise, like shooting an enemy. This is funny, arrow to the knee literally here, but like you shoot them, do they react to that accordingly? I think that could be pretty good, instead of what I mentioned earlier was my where they just stand still as you get like 4 slashes off. You know what I'm talking about, right? And then the last thing they mentioned is archery was improved to make it more playable and modern in both third and first person points of view. Now when it comes to third person in Oblivion, I never really play that way with this game. I like to wander in it, but I don't like to fight in it. So
how are people gonna take the fact that you play Oblivion and you can fast travel to every location on Oblivion the moment you start the game? How are people gonna deal with that? How do you think people are gonna react to that? Because that's something that people don't know about Oblivion, who have not played it or who have not heard about it. That you can travel anywhere. You can just go to whatever location you want with fast travel instantly. Level 1, do nothing. You can.
So I would be keen to see what kind of changes they make there. In the case of archery, though, more playable in first person. I'm wondering if that means things like what Skyrim did, where like the reticle tightens a bit if you hold your breath, things like that to make it more accurate. I'd like to see what they do there, but I do like some of the things they're targeting here. It's just, again, we gotta see it before fully judging, in my opinion. But it's not all, I think, great news when taking a look here. Again, the UI changes I have my reservations for, because it's weird to see this sort of change when Oblivion clearly inspired games like Kingdom Come Deliverance, and we see how popular that is. So why would you walk away from what's inspiring games that are taking some of your ideas, like with the UI or just sort of the gameplay freedom aspect, and doing really well with it? Like,
why would you walk away from that? Actually, that is a super easy question to answer. Because they made it on accident. Because they don't understand their own game, and they don't understand what's actually good about it. That's why they do it. That's why they walk away from these things. Because these companies nowadays just fundamentally don't understand what people liked about what game, why it was popular, and then they do stupid stuff, then they do woke shit, then they do this, then they do that, because they have no idea what they did. And this is a common thing, and some people, by the way, don't think that this is possible. This is actually very common. And it is, I think the peak of that is when when it's around when the question is asked about like series, books, and things like that, shows, people who make a show, and they made a good show, but they don't. But they made it on accident, and then they don't understand why people like their show, or they don't understand They don't understand why people like a certain character because they misunderstand what the character actually is because they try to do something else. And this is actually very popular with a lot of series where people like the bad guy. Breaking Bad, people were not actually supposed to kind of even like Walter and stuff like that. People liked him, okay? And there are many, many, many examples like that. The Penguin, people are not supposed to like the Penguin. Oz is a bad guy. Yeah, we know, but, stuff. I mean, Penguin is a bad example because that they played it out good there. But, there are tons of examples where authors don't understand what they did on accident, and then the author's opinion is no longer relevant because they don't fundamentally understand what they made and why it's good. And games are exactly the same thing, only it's way more common in gaming. It is way more common in gaming. Anyway, that was Mr. Matty Plays 10 out of 10. Bye.